Since they do the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor blows the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steve Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts flow.
And there it is, my AI intro song, which, you know,
I've heard yours. Pretty good.
So today, well, all right, let me explain first why this show is happening. Joined here by Andre East today. He is an opponent and expert on AI. And I think AI is one of those things that is probably like most of us now are familiar with it in some way, like, but our familiarity with it is maybe at best just figuring out how to do prompts, like if you know how to get something out of your AI. And I think that there is probably a lot of stuff that most people don't know that people should know. And like if you follow Mark Cuban on Blue Sky, there's been some he's got some ideas that Elon Musk is trying to get Grok 3 to become like some sort of government sponsored AI where he could like literally just make trillions of dollars off of it, which would not surprise me. But so I was just got to thinking, what do we need to know about AI that we don't know about AI? And, you know, then you start getting in all this stuff like what is generative AI supposed to mean anyway, and machine learning, and it's just a lot of terms that we float around and maybe sort of know what they mean but don't really know what they mean. So I asked, and you know, I kind of asked if there were some experts out there. And Andre, you used to like build AI systems or something, right? Oh, I can't hear you. I think, oh, you were on mute.
Sorry, I muted for a second because I was typing and I didn't want my mechanical keyboard to interrupt you. So, yeah. Wait, what was the question again?
Oh, like just what is you? Oh, that.
Oh yeah, no. I used to build the. I used to build the network that these machines would run on. Basically the circulatory system. If it was the warehouse would be the skeleton, and you know all the Ethernet cables and stuff would be the not the nervous system. Sorry, the circulatory system would be more like the fans and the coolant systems that keep everything running cool, because these machines produce a lot of heat, an extreme amount of heat. In fact, so the way that they set these up is you kind of want to have like mass airflow going one direction. So you set all these racks up parallel, and then you have an opening, and usually you have some air filters or something because you don't want moisture. So you have the air input side, and then you have these massive fans on the exit side that are pulling all that air through. And these fans are so powerful that I once took a half full water bottle I was drinking and I dropped it, and it got sucked into the fan.
Oh my goodness!
Like from 3 feet away. So one side of the facility, the cold side, where the input, where where all the air comes in, would be like maybe 20-30 degrees in the winter, and it would be 110 on the output side. So that's how much heat these put out.
Which I imagine means they use a lot of electricity.
Oh yeah, tons of electricity. So let me look up.
Is it similar? Is it like the same kind of system you use for cryptocurrency stuff? And
Yes, it is almost exact. The machine learning, like yeah, machine learning, what they use for like Chat GPT and stuff like that. It's basically just a bunch of computers, a bunch of small computers hooked together, working as one giant supercomputer. Because the technology to build a giant supercomputer that could do the same thing as 1,000 small computers, we don't have that yet, and that's due to Moore's law, and how the number of transistors on a circuit board doubles every 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. We've reached a limit to that point. They can no longer double them, because when you get down into like the really really small bits of computers, you can only make them so small before electrons start jumping tracks going wherever they want instead of on the traces that you build.
Kind of like the way there's a limit to how many times you can tear a piece of paper in half.
Yes. Or the number of times that you can the number of people you can fit on the 501. Like eventually people are going to start getting on the shoulder and like driving across the median to get to the other side, and that's what electrons will eventually do when you make a circuit board. I can't remember what the exact term is, but basically, yeah, it's a type of capacitance. Even power lines will do it too. There's some sort of like induction field around power lines between them.
So there's like laws of physics now that are
yes, and that's why computers have basically reached a breaking point where they can't get much better. Not like they used to. Every 10 years we used to just leaps and bounds of
yeah.
Once we figured out the memory limit, that was back in Y2K, we figured out how to get past the memory limit, and then we started getting into terabytes. Or actually, at that time, I think we were just starting to get into gigabytes,
Yeah.
Hard drives would take up rooms.
Oh, no. I remember when I got my first, like I've been buying computers since, well, my very first computer was an Apple Macintosh. Like, and I still have it, the original Apple Macintosh.
Mine was a Gateway 2.
So, well, and then, I had a VIC-20, but that one I didn't use much because that had like the tape cassette for a hard drive.
Yeah, I remember magnetic tape reels. So you could store a lot on those, more than a CD at least.
But yeah, I remember like when it came into the gigabytes, and then when like solid state, somebody figured out how to store things on solid state. That was a big breakthrough, and people were like, "Oh, you're going to be able to fit a whole set of encyclopedias on something the size of a watch," and everybody was like, "No."
Solid state drives are actually just really big flash drives.
So
I think that's funny.
Well, no, I mean, like, but this was like when they invented the flash drives, like.
Oh, you're talking about okay,
like this was like 96,
97. Before SSDs, like solid state drives.
Yeah, when they figured out
that they could store bits as EEPROM.
Yeah. So anyway, I remember that and thinking that is insane. They're going to be able to fit a whole set of encyclopedias on a watch.
Yep.
And then like thinking that was just nuts. And of course, you can fit a lot more than that on a watch now.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's another thing that these systems take a lot of is internet bandwidth. So it's not just power. They use a lot of internet too, sending receipts and stuff back. It's proof of work is what a lot of it's built on, which shows basically that the computers are working together because there's an actual log. It's almost like a duty log, like so and so did this much and so did this much, and then we finished up with this guy, and then that way everybody gets credit for the parts that they did. And so,
but it's not computers like, are there people sitting at those computers?
No. It is computers. So it goes down to like the actual MAC address of that computer, like defining it as this physical location.
So like if you're monitoring it and then all of a sudden Mac Daddy stops working, then you'll know. And
oh yeah and there's different systems. like the systems that I built, you were using Cisco switches. We tied every computer to a static IP. So when we saw the IP drop off, we know exactly what computer it is in the warehouse to go and reset it, which was it was instrumental, and we had some of the best customer service because we could get things back online like really, really quickly because we knew where everything was physically. Whereas everybody else was just using DHCP because, or DCHP. I always get that mixed up because it's easier. Is it, you just plug them in and they grab their own IP. You don't have to. And static assigning was also a pain too because you'd have to go into every computer and set that up. But if you set it on the switch and you set it for every port, then as soon as you plug it in, and when we would switch out computers, we wouldn't have to rewrite their IPs. You would just plug a new one in, and it would grab the IP from the switch.
So all these computers, which I imagine they're not cheap computers by
Oh
themselves.
no, they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars a piece, and they're just massive warehouses full of them.
And they're all doing their own computations and sharing their work so that it becomes like a super brain.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that crypto does too. Crypto is also built on the same proof of work and kind of crowdsourcing their computations. But there's
this is like this networking is the root of what AI is, because
yes,
the amount of the number of calculations you need to do for AI, I assume, is not like something you can do on your Macintosh Airbook. Like,
absolutely, yeah. Think of it like if you had I don't know, like 100 calculators, and you had 100 people running those calculators to try to add up, I don't know, the defense budget, something massive, trillions and trillions of dollars, and you have 100 people working on calculator versus one really smart guy doing everything on one calculator. Even if he has a scientific calculator that can do more functions, he's still limited by the amount of inputs he can put in and receive and share with others. So
even when how many calculations per second can one of these computers do by itself?
I want to say 16 billion.
So wow, so it's
what's a 16 like a lot? The average is about 16 terahash. So let's terahash. I want to say terahash is billion.
So a lot.
Yeah.
And they're all networking together. So this is like just an insane number of calculators that are all working together. And that's the root of AI is just all these calculations.
Yeah. And so, the root of AI is actually a complex set of algorithms. So a lot of things that are being called AI now are not actually AI, but just complex algorithms, like 4K upscaling. When you have a device that, or a TV that plays 4K, and you have a device that only does 1080p, it will have to upscale that to fill out the screen. And to do that, it uses what they call AI, but it's really just a bunch of mathematical calculations to make the picture look good and be bigger.
Okay. So what is the difference between that and AI?
So AI, in its simplest form, is just machine intelligence. So it's just intelligence exhibited by machines. That's all AI is. And so they use complex algorithms, just like I said with the upscaling, but they use them in more complex ways. Like there's layers and layers rather than just this is your job, make the TV look better. You go to ChatGPT and you say, write me a Shakespeare novel about Buzz Lightyear. It's going to have to take all these influences from different places and rearrange them together to get something that you want. And so it's a lot of algorithms that some of them cancel each other out, some of them assist each other, and some of them just are independent.
So that's interesting. Okay, so if so, like when your TV upscales something, is it just using your 1080p and then based on your like the what the pixels are and then
Yes, and it just basically
figuring,
it does the math to make it 4000 instead of 1080.
but it's not the same
4000.
thing as if it were actually 4K.
Right. That is the distinction. It is not the same thing, and it
So,
is
but if it were to predict what it would be if it were actual 4K and duplicate that, would that
that's what
make
it
it AI?
tries to do. That's what it tries to do, and it's pretty good at it. But and the same thing is with
Okay.
phones with digital zoom. If you don't actually have lenses that can go like this to
Uh-huh.
actually facilitate zoom, you have to use digital zoom, which is another form of AI upscaling. And my wife and I actually figured out we were both driving down the road, and there was somebody in front of us whose license plate we couldn't read the state. It ended up being Utah, but we couldn't read the state. And when I zoomed in on my phone, took a picture of it at like 10 times zoom, and I was like, "Oh, it says Utah." And my wife took a picture of it on her iPhone at 10 times zoom. It said Utah very clearly,
Mm,
Utah. And I was like, it rewrote it. It rewrote the words.
wow. That's
So
crazy.
that's something you can look into. It's pretty neat.
So, okay, so then how is AI different? Like, is how like is there a is there an analogy to 4K TV for AI? Yeah, like I understand that AI, like the
So there's different
upscaling is
types.
not AI. What is AI?
Oh, so true AI would be artificial intelligence independent from programming, something that learns by itself, something that doesn't
Mm,
need outside input. All of these Grok 3, Chat GPT, even your Dollies, the image generators with prompts, all of those have to scrape data from actual people who have written, who have
right.
drawn, who have painted, who all of it has to have a basis of human influence. Whereas artificial intelligence would be like Vision or Ultron from the MCU, like they would be a thinking entity of their own with opinions, desires, whatever. Maybe even emotions like Data in Star Trek. He got an emotion chip at one point. But Data, he's an android. He's equipped with a neural net, which is basically a positronic brain, which is basically what AI would be if we could achieve it. Which is he's completely independent. He doesn't need other people's inputs. He
Mm.
functions on his own.
So
Um,
if you were to put a soul into Data, would he be bought and sold?
that's a good one. That's why they call you Machine Fun.
That's got to earn the pun every now and then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So the AI that we have now, you have chatbots like Grok 3, Chat GPT. You have AI assistants like Google Assistant, Siri, Alexa, Cortana. Those particular AIs were given more of a personified
Mhm.
gloss finish. They've made them more user friendly, which is what you want in an assistant. You don't want it to sound like when
Yeah.
you call your bank after hours and you get a automated robot.
But like I know like Google, they have what's called a personality team.
Mm,
That they are Google's personality. Like they program her personality, but a lot of it is based on like their personality. Like they
mm,
figure out what her personality is. And it's kind of a programmed personality. Like they tell her the jokes. Like if you say, tell me a joke,
yeah.
then but they're the ones that feed her the jokes.
Or even coming down to the selecting the voice actress. The voice actor that they use for Siri, she had done a lot of voice acting in the past for automated systems and such, and they really hit the mark when they picked her voice, because that is like, you hear that voice and you recognize it from anywhere, and
There was
it's
a Big Bang Theory where she was on it.
oh, that's neat. I did not know that.
Yeah, she was something like the one guy that was afraid to talk to girls
Well,
was
that sounds like all of them.
well the one that like really couldn't.
Howard, Sheldon.
The guy that was Howard's best friend.
Oh shoot. If I actually knew these characters,
Anyway,
I don't actually watch the show, but I have seen
he literally could not talk to women. He would like freeze up. But anyway,
yeah.
it was he was dating her, and she's pretty. The voice actress is pretty.
Yeah. But like coming down to that, so like they picked somebody who could enunciate really well. They picked somebody who could pronounce things, clearly and definitely, and had a good cadence. They said the reason why Ken Jennings won all those episodes of Jeopardy is because he had Alex Trebek's cadence down to like half a second. So he knew when he was going to finish the question before he finished the question. And then he could buzz in faster than anybody else, because Jeopardy isn't about how much you know. It's about who can buzz in the fastest to the easy questions. Because there's always going to be ones that are like, how would I know that?
Yeah.
What's the 47th Pokemon? I don't know.
So, okay. So, but that's still not AI. That's still just.
Yes, these are
mimicking intelligence.
Right, it mimics AI. It's AI that we have at home. If you were to ask your mom for AI, we have AI at home. It's this. So you'll often hear people who talk about AI. A lot of proponents of AI will talk about singularity, which is the point where AI becomes smarter than humanity. I, for one, do not believe this is possible, because you can never get a machine to be smarter than a person, because machines don't understand nuance.
Yeah. So I was just having this thought the other day that I think goes along with what you're saying.
Hold on, someone's at the door, but continue talking. Tell your story.
Okay, so he has a has a flooding thing going on, so he's got to go get a pump. But while he's doing that, I was watching some AI videos the other day. Ironically, I was trying to learn about AI, and the only way I could learn about AI was to watch AI videos, because all the videos are AI, and none of them were interesting. And that kind of struck me that that's kind of a big difference between AI doesn't know how to be interesting, because it doesn't know how to be human. So I think it might be able to, like Neverfall here. It's talking about chess. I think it can be, like chess is a mathematical game, and it's even if you're like a chess master or whatever, you're still looking at potential outcomes. And so I think like mathematically it can be smarter, but I don't think it can have a personality. Like it's not going to trash talk while you're doing it, unless you've programmed it to trash talk. So we've got some dogs here for entertainment, and I think there was a cat either earlier. So how you doing, Neverfall? I need to talk to you at some point. But anyway, welcome back to the channel. So he had Andre had his house flood. His basement is flooding, and his landlord's bringing over a pump, which I think is what he's getting right now. His dogs are happy, so he must be coming back.
Yep, sorry about that.
Yeah, we were just like talking about your dogs, and I noticed you have a cat too.
Yeah. Oh, I have 5 cats. 5 cats, 2 dogs.
Wow. So you like animals, huh? Or
the big guy right here, that's Sven. He's a Great Pyrenees. This little guy over here is Goose. He's a Australian cattle dog terrier mix. Little
Ah.
mutt. Hey, get away from my slippers. He's a good boy though. He's very ornery.
My honey
So
bear was she was a Australian cattle dog mix. She was Australian cattle dog and
smart.
Anatolian.
Yeah,
But
those are smart dogs. Um, so in regards to singularity, as before I was interrupted, so there's a lot of people that strongly believe that eventually AI will replace humanity. That it will become so smart, so sophisticated that the level of intelligence surpasses humans as a whole, not just a single person. I think AI has already gotten to the point where it can be smarter than a single person. But
like Neverfall was saying, it can beat like the best chess masters.
yeah, yeah,
So
AI can beat really good chess masters. Like when they first started doing computer chess, there were everybody was beating the computers, but that's like I said, because computers don't understand nuance. They just they see A to B and they take the fastest route there, even if, like you and I could say, like, I'm not going to walk that way because I don't want my feet to get wet, because I don't want to
mhm,
be walking around with wet feet. But I just had to walk out into 3 feet of water out on my front patio. And, if I was an AI, I would have just walked straight through the water. But,
mhm.
I tried to play the floor as lava and jump around things on my patio to get across it without getting my feet wet, which took more time, took more energy, but it was ultimately the smarter thing to do to keep my feet dry. But the examples like that where like AI doesn't think like a person would, and so it
Mhm.
doesn't come to the same conclusions. And AI will actually hallucinate times. It will come up with explanations for things that did not exist. One of them I saw was, are you familiar with the phrase "go ham"?
No.
So it's go hard as a mf'er,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So I I I typed it in to chatbot, and it said the reason that the phrase "go ham" means to get to the center of things, to get to the bone,
Okay.
and it's like that's not what it means.
Yeah, yeah,
But they just inferred the wrong thing.
yeah.
They put like different adages and little anecdotes and facts together, and they modge podged them in a way that wasn't the correct answer, but it was correct enough for it, and it might be
Mhm.
correct enough for someone else too, someone that
Yeah.
doesn't actually know. And
But I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, there's
it
a
does make
logic to
sense.
it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's logical. It makes sense. But because like Chat GPT and Grok 3 and stuff are limited on what the answers, because they purposely train them to not be racist and homophobic and transphobic, but like a real person would give you those answers, you
Yeah.
know. And so they're not allowed to use slurs. They're not allowed to use hardly any curse words usually. So that's why they hallucinate these things because the correct answer is out of their reach.
I, actually, for a while, I was working on, um, the, Genesis as a sensitive they called it, like, a sensitive Q trainer, where we trained Genesis according to, like, the sensitive questions, the politically sensitive
Mhm,
and
mhm.
like, so you'd get questions, and a lot of it is because, people actually, um, either deliberately some people deliberately try to, uh, like, morph the AIs by flooding it with,
Mhm. Bad
like,
responses.
I think there was the first one of the first ones, like, was Twitter or something like that, not even Grok, but they tried to come up with one, and immediately the Nazis got a hold of it, and, like, within a couple of days, it was a full-fledged Nazi white supremacist.
It was a Google chatbot, and they
It was a
shut it
Google
down.
check.
They
So,
shut it down immediately after that. Yeah, I
yeah,
do. It
yeah.
was 4chan that 4chan were the ones that organized that garbage in, garbage out attack.
So like, our job was to one, it was to review stuff like that, but also there's, like, people would ask questions like, "Why do poor people stink?" Or, you know, are why do homeless people stink, or you know, there were some questions about, you know, like some kind of like vague racist questions. You know, like, do Indians smell like curry, or you know, and you know, so we had to like teach Genesis, which was like the sequel to Bard. I don't know what it's called now. That was like what when we were using it.
Bard,
And
yeah.
what's that?
I do remember Bard.
Like Bard was their next one. I worked with Bard too, and then I worked with, but Bard was different, had a different job. This one was like that was the job. It sucked too, but anyway, it was just like even the artificial intelligence creative answers they come up with were like deliberately, you know, like you had to train it to answer it. Like it wouldn't give your exact answer, but you'd have enough people answer it to teach it how to answer it, that it would eventually answer it to where, you know, it would be like you'd try to answer the question honestly, but it would also like say, you know, poor people don't necessarily stink, you know, and you know, and you know, like sometimes poor people are just people that, or homeless people are just unhoused. It doesn't mean that they're living on the street. Like most people that are unhoused are staying like with a friend or whatever. And I had to explain things like that. And but it's like you said, it's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever access it has to on the internet and what it scrapes is what it's going to tell you. And you have to teach it. Like some sources are better than others and stuff like that.
So another really good example of what AI's limitations are, because of it's based on what it scrapes. If you ask an AI art generator to draw a completely full glass of wine, it will only draw it halfway. It'll only ever be halfway full because all the pictures it's trained on are half full glasses of wine. Because nobody takes a picture of a glass completely filled to the brim with wine.
Mm. That's interesting. So I guess they're neither optimistic nor pessimistic.
Yeah. No. Yeah. They're the
The
true
glass
middle.
is always half full and half empty.
Yeah. They're not on the fence. They are the fence.
So that's what like. So most of what we conventionally think of as AI is not actual AI.
Correct.
What would you call that?
I would just call it machine intelligence.
Okay.
Because the idea that the artificial intelligence makes it sound like it's a simulacrum, like it's a copy, like a twin, a clone, you know, when it's really not. It's inferior to it. It's a subsection, you know. It's not true intelligence. You know, actual AI would be, you know, like HAL 9000 in Space Odyssey. You know, he controlled all the components of the ship. You could talk to him. He could make his own decisions. In fact, he decided to jeopardize the crew for the sake of the mission, which is something a person, you know, unless they were insane, wouldn't do.
So can AI? Is it that AI can't create? It can't invent. It can't.
Yes, it can only.
Everything is it's all based on its input. It can't
It
come
can
up
only
with
improv.
What's that?
It's an improv comedian. It can't. It has to riff on somebody else. It has to take somebody else's joke and rework it in a way that makes them, you know, like important. But they can't come up with something completely organically, because it would be organic.
Yeah.
And artificial intelligence is the furthest thing from organic.
Because while you were gone, I was saying, before I even talked to you, you know, I was like, I've been trying to learn.
I was trying to listen too, but my landlord was talking, and I was like,
oh yeah, no worries. But when like I was trying to learn about AI, and I was watching some YouTube videos, and it was funny because all the videos on AI were AI videos. Mm-hmm. So it's like I was in this AI inception hole or something like that. Yeah. And but AI is like, AI has not learned how to be interesting. Like,
yeah,
It's really it's hard to watch more than like 2 minutes of AI, even with
It's
the
a parlor trick.
advanced AI voices and stuff like that. It doesn't.
Yeah. It's
You know,
not
it's
real
just
magic. It's parlor tricks.
it
You know,
doesn't
it's
understand
entertaining.
human nature or like how to, like you were talking about cadence. Like I think about the great actors.
Mhm.
You know, they understand cadence. Morgan Freeman has cadence. Samuel L. Jackson has
Yep.
cadence. There's a way that you talk that it can draw people into it. And AI can't do that. Even the best AI voices haven't learned, like you can't learn that because you have to be able to vibe on that, to get to know people on that.
Yeah. And another anecdotal example. My wife and I have been getting into listening to books on tape, and the ones that we can't find, sometimes we have to go to YouTube for. Stephen King's The Jaunt, which if you haven't read it, you should. It's great. It's about intergalactic space travel, but through portals, like instantaneous portal travel, kind of like what Rick Sanchez does in Rick and Morty. Anyway, the guy that was the narrator, I thought was a real person until he incorrectly pronounced lead 3 times in a row as lead. He said the lead of a pencil, a lead shield, and a lead brick. And it's like, that's lead, the element. Like a person would realize this. Oh, they meant lead. You know, but an AI doesn't have any idea of it, and they just pump this stuff out and they don't check on it. They don't, you know, it's awful. But anyway, I did find a good audio book for The Jaunt, and it with somebody that actually does voices for the characters, which is nice. It's so awful listening to a book where somebody uses the same monotone voice for every character.
Yeah. I do a lot of audiobooks. I always listen to books in the car, especially since the election. I can't listen to the news anymore. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
So, but you can always listen to my podcast. Like that's the one thing, you know, don't listen to books, listen to my podcast. No,
Books are for nerds.
So okay, so AI is now when you say that AI is dangerous,
oh yeah,
are you talking about the fake AI or real AI?
Both. So real AI, like I said, would be like Ultron, and he would decide that, you know what, humanity is a threat to itself. So I'm just gonna just deal with the problem and get rid of all humans. And then eventually, you know, he becomes multiverse Ultron and gets rid of all life in the multiverse, because that's his whole goal. It's just peace. And the only way to have true peace is for nothing to be happening, you know, the heat death of the universe, basically. Um, so that's true AI. Now you have fake AI, and the reason why that's dangerous is one, the environmental concerns. It uses a lot of power, like we talked about, and a lot of places that the power is cheaper are the places that they set these giant warehouses up in. Like out here in Colorado, we have a lot of solar and wind, but the facility that I worked at, they picked it because there was a coal power plant like less than 2 miles away, and this facility was an old Intel plant, so it already had massive amounts of power and space and everything, and you know, adding in the heating and cooling was just a little bit extra. But they chose that place because the power was cheaper, because they were using the power from the coal power plant rather than the power from, you know, hundreds of miles down the road at the solar farms and wind farms. So
It's using dirty. It's not
oftentimes,
just using a lot of electricity. It's using a lot of dirty electricity.
exactly. So because it's cheaper and there's more incentive to use it because it's older and the lines are already run, and you know, like the infrastructure is already there. That's the reason why the America's internet infrastructure took 20 years to catch up to everybody else. All the other countries had gig lines way before we did, because they invest in their infrastructure, whereas we let politicians give basically monopolies to the telecommunications industry and say, you guys are the only ones. Bell Communications is the only ones who are allowed to run subterranean lines in these counties, is basically what happened in the 80s. And so you got your phone companies and your TV companies basically were handed a monopoly for the future.
Yeah.
and they capitalized on it by not upgrading their infrastructure for 2 decades, while everyone else did. But anyway, so a lot of these things, these industries are incentivized by bad policies, like using dirty power, using like the heat that they put out is like I said, immense. It's just vented into the atmosphere. It just goes out. And you know, you have environmental effects on that. You might not have immediate and noticeable environmental effects, but the buildup over time is going to cause different weather patterns in that area. It might not be. I'm not saying it'll cause like massive storms or anything, but it might rain twice as often in the summer. You know, stuff like that, because you're putting all this hot air. That hot air goes straight up, and then the cold air has to come down to replace the hot air.
Hmm.
So like, you know, that's just it's basically a weather machine at that point when you're just exhausting all this air. And what could be used is my hometown used from their paper mill, they had a hot water excess that would have just got dumped into the river. But what they did was they backfilled it through this one really steep street, so that in the wintertime the snow never stuck,
Hmm.
because it had this constant hot water flow from the paper plant. And it's like, that's something you can do, like, you know, use your whatever waste you have in a meaningful way.
Hmm.
And all these AI companies have no interest in doing that. They have no incentive for doing that.
Because it's such a race right now. Like
They're just trying to be the best, the best.
like Neverfall saying, explain the math of how in reality coal is cheaper than $0 electric. So like there's a scenario where it could end up in the long range being cheaper if you do solar, if you set up the cost, or if you set everything up with the solar and run the wires and do all that stuff, then over time it's going to end up being a lot cheaper than using the coal. But the time that you lose, like with this AI stuff, it's such a race right now, right? Like,
Yep, exactly.
time is the most valuable commodity they have.
Yeah.
And
I remember when I was working at the crypto facility, we had a customer pay an extra $400 on his 37 miners that he bought to get them a day earlier.
wow.
And he ended up making,
You know who else paid
$30,000
$37 to? You know who else paid to get a bunch of miners earlier?
oh,
Matt Gates.
Matt Gates, yeah.
Venmoed them.
Speaking of people like Matt Gates, I heard Jared from Subway is home.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no, indeed. Oh no. It's.
I hope he registered.
I thought I'm surprised he survived prison, but you know, good for him. Hopefully he's a changed man. Anyway, yeah, so like he got these miners a day early, and because he had that 1 day advantage on a like, you know, having this extra hash power that other people didn't have, he made 30 grand.
Wow.
And you know, like I like to say that the crypto and the AI markets are like the stock market, except the stock market, there's a paper trail, there's physical, you know, you're actually investing in something real, tangible. But whereas like crypto and AI is just, it's all ethereal. It's all built on the idea that if you respect this enough, you will find value in it.
The crypto bros and the muskrats, it's like if you did a Venn diagram, they would be
a circle. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't understand the
it's all about gullibility, the way I see it. Because if you have someone explain to you that, hey, crypto's a scam, you're only going to make rich people richer and you're only going to make yourself poor. It's like trying to tell people not to play the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, my grandpa always said the lottery is a tax on poor people. That's all it is. Because the odds of you winning are so astronomically low that you'll spend your whole life pumping money into it and probably never see a payout. I personally, my stepbrother's grandpa won like 17 million, but he was a trucker and they had like a pool, you know. And so like there were hundreds of truckers pooling into this lottery. So it wasn't just, he bought a ticket and won, himself. I am of the persuasion to believe that every lottery winner is not real. Like they're just like, oh, this guy won the lottery in this state. And then you're just like, oh, okay. And nobody ever researches it. Because why haven't we heard about these lottery winners? Like the guy that won $1 billion from the Powerball. Why aren't we hearing about him? Like why aren't we hearing about this billionaire and what he's doing? Because I don't think he's real.
Even if he were, it doesn't change the math. Like they do these pick six winners. You ever see these like TV, like the ads for sports stuff?
Yeah.
If you pick six, then you win, like 200 times as much or whatever. And it's like you start like if you've ever taken basic statistics, it's like, the way odds are set is that you're going to get 50%. So it's like flipping a coin. And so to get 6 in a row is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. So it's like they'll say, oh, you win, 35 times as much
at that point.
And it's like you're losing money. No matter, like they make it seem like, oh, you're making all this money. It's so easy to win all this money, but to get 6 in a row, the odds are even just to get 6 straight are like 1 in 64.
Yeah, 1 in 64.
So it's like I think most people have never taken a statistics class or things, and it's like, so you are losing money every time you play, even if you win if you play 100 times, you are going to lose money. It's like the casino always wins type of thing.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, statistics, your statistics, you usually want to win, but you take the statistics for, let's say, an asteroid colliding with the Earth and wiping out humanity.
I'm pulling for the asteroid.
When those chances double, everybody loses their minds. Everybody, goes out and they start buying the doomsday preppers. They start buying cans of food and stuff that they're never going to eat. But like, they don't understand that it doubling did not change anything. Like it's still like a 0.00003 chance, like it's not doubling a might, like it's such a minuscule number, such a minuscule chance has no effect really, like practically.
Unless it's the one movie with Jennifer Lawrence, where it was absolutely going to hit.
Don't Look Up.
Yeah, Don't Look Up, and that's a metaphor for global warming.
Right, yeah. I got the whole. I did not watch it. I did watch some clips from it. Like Leonardo DiCaprio freaking out on live TV, telling everybody like they need to be worried about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you could do that, and people would still ignore you or call you a quack. But you have to put it in a movie form to grab people's attention for a second. And half the time they misinterpret the message entirely.
Which is, like that's a big part of the movie is like nobody was taking the scientists seriously, which, I don't know what it is. I think there's something like maybe in human nature that just, like even like right now with the Trump thing and with AI and stuff, we want to just, we want to look, it's easier to embrace like conspiratorial nonsensical dangers than it is the actual dangers.
Well, it's more fun too. The conspiracies are always more fun. Like have you ever heard the rumor that Mr. Rogers wore sweaters to cover up the tattoos of the number of kills that he got in Vietnam?
Who is that?
Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Oh, I didn't.
The real reason he wore the sweaters is because his mom made them for him. But the rumor got around that he was like an ex Green Beret or Navy SEAL or something like that, and he was, he had hundreds of confirmed kills that he tattooed all over his arms, and that's why he wore sweaters. And that rumor like lasted for decades.
Oh man, now I wish there were like Mr. Rogers action movies. And it's like he'd pull up his sleeve, he'd go, "Welcome to my neighborhood, motherfucker," and then like mow a bunch of people down. Or
I'm gonna have to switch to my murder shoes.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
I would watch that.
I would watch the. Who would?
The
Who would
thing
be
is,
good-
the
would-
thing is,
would-
with AI, they could make that. It
they-
wouldn't
they
be good, but they could make it.
So, all right. So now let's get into some of the dangers of the fake AI, which some of which I'm familiar with.
Okay, so yeah, the dangers of the fake AI. You have the environmental cost, but then you have you can basically steer a population's understanding of a subject. So you've noticed with Google, they have AI overview now.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you Google anything, it'll give you an AI overview.
That was
and
the specific thing that I was working on.
Yeah, like, okay, so
Training
yesterday I was playing Resident Evil 4, and there's an achievement in Resident Evil 4 where if you clear the whole game and get S rank without using any bonus weapons or whatever, you get an achievement. Anyway, I was like, oh, is the Matilda bonus weapon? So I type in Matilda bonus weapon, and the first thing comes up in the AI overview. No, the Matilda is not considered a bonus weapon because it's unlockable earlier in the game by the merchant. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to double check because it's a really good gun. Anyway, the AI was right on that one, but they're not always right.
Right.
When I Google Sonic the Hedgehog kids, because I knew there was a comic in Archie Comics in the Not Whole Sonic version, with Sally Acorn, where he did have children with Sally Acorn, and he was like the king of Not Whole. But anyway, so I type in Sonic the Hedgehog kids, and it tells me Wacky Packs are available at all Sonic restaurants, including kids' toys. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. But it seems like a shameless plug for an advertisement rather than giving me the actual information I wanted.
So one danger is that people could just rely on AI search results or
exactly
and just be wrong about stuff.
Well, look at how many people, when they research a subject, they go with the first Google result.
Yeah, right.
Or
right.
if they're of the online argument persuasion, they'll go to the first result that supports them.
Yeah.
Gloss over the 6 that say you're wrong and go to the one that says you're right.
We are not champions of critical thinking here in America.
No, not at all. We want our answers fast. We don't care if they're accurate. We want them fast.
Which I think is ironic because I'm 57, and so like I remember when we were coming into the information superhighway, and and that was what they would call it, the information superhighway, and they were comparing it to like when Gutenberg invented the printing press, and how we were going to enter into a new Renaissance area, and like all of human information would be available at our fingertips.
And it is.
And it's like, it's all true. You can know so much more if you are an even remotely curious and thorough person in terms of like actually looking for the truth and know how to think, and actually like at this point I think every high school, to graduate from high school, you should have to take a logic course and just learn how logic works, how like facts and stuff like that. What's the difference between a fact and an opinion? But we've kind of we've just taken the exit ramp to Stupidville, and we've just like stomped on the accelerator.
That's intentional. I mean, it's all been leading up to dismantling the Department of Education, so they can privatize schools, so poor people get the worst education and rich people get the best education, and that way the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. It's all intentional. And that's not a conspiracy. That's just the truth.
When when you go back into like they're trying to bring back manufacturing and stuff like that, where you don't need an education,
right.
to them.
Yeah, they want a
Bezels on Basels, and that's all you need to do. Why do you need to know math for that?
An uneducated workforce is the most happy and complacent, and the most they're not the most efficient. They're not the most ingenuous. I don't. They lack ingenuity. They can't. Much like AI. If you dumb down your workforce to the point where that all they do is what they're told, just input output, you get the results that you want, but you won't get the human soul.
Yeah.
There's a
Um,
really powerful speech, and I'm gonna look it up so I can send it to you later. But it's this guy at Berkeley, and I can't remember the whole speech, but he was talking about basically they they took some sort of review process and they boiled it down to just the basics. And he's like, you're stripping the humanity away from what we're trying to do here. It can't just be about numbers and money. And the part that's powerful is he says you got to put yourself on the levers and in the gears, and you got to make the machine stop. And that's the point that we're at now, where we have this colossal fascism machine that we have to stop, and AI is a part of it, whether we like it or not. Sam Altman of OpenAI, he's in a feud with Musk over the Musk wants government contracts for his AI programs, and Sam Altman wants the same. So Musk has an infinitely better advantage being right hand man to the president at this
I'm
point.
just waiting for Musk to give himself a contract on that, and then say,
No, he already has. I mean, he's given SpaceX contracts to the FAA.
"Oh no, on because I think that
Oh, the AI.
the AI like that, like if you're like what he's trying to do is set up some sort of AI system to pay like to replace all the government workers he's laying
Yeah,
off right now."
yeah,
And I
that's the
think
intention.
and I think that's the other real danger we need to
Because an
the
AI,
AI is replacing real jobs.
yeah, and these
It's like
aren't unskilled.
writers.
It's not unskilled jobs. These aren't the
Yeah.
the jobs that AI should be replacing, like manufacturing. Boston Robotics is one of the best uh, designers of their artificial intelligence is really just making the robots work. But you've seen the packing and shipping robots where they can pick up a box and they can walk over
Yeah,
to
no,
another
I have
table.
a friend that his this actually like 20 years ago he was doing this where he set up these manufacturing places to where they would like he would help design the bots and stuff to design the arms and like walk
PLCs.
through the he would and he was the architect for those where
Mhm.
he'd like sit down and do all the math and draw and figure out exactly how to make this arm put this lid on this jar or whatever and make it as human free as possible, which is why we don't want manufacturing jobs back. We don't want to go back to doing that. Like that's the
Yeah,
tedium work, not the
yeah,
skilled work. That's the lower
yeah.
paid work, not the higher
The
paid work. But
the
the
idea,
AIs are taking over like writing jobs and
yeah,
copywriting jobs and you
yeah.
know
It's totally backwards. It's totally backwards. But that's because capitalism has us in a stranglehold. But yeah, so the idea of AI would be to take over all of the mundane menial tasks that you have to do in your everyday life, the things that have to be done for society, like the guys that shovel coal into furnaces with bulldozers. Like that could be an automated bulldozer. You can build that. Like we
mhm.
have the technology. We just don't have the initiative, the drive, the motivation. We don't care enough. It's not going to make money to make robotic forklift operators. They have machines now that can actually. They're almost like like a skid steer.
Mhm.
If you just take the skid, like the two forks, if you just took those off and took the lift part off entirely,
Mhm.
and they're basically fully robotized. They go underneath the pallet themselves, and then they lift themselves, and then they drive the pallet. It looks like the pallet's moving all on its own,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
and it's like we have that technology, just that we don't have people in the industry that want to use it because it's cheaper to pay someone a dirt poor wage to do it.
Wow. Wins. That's interesting.
It's like it would be more efficient and make more sense, and in the long run, make more money. But
Yeah.
they don't see it like that. It's short term gain over long term goals.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have to worry about like I mean
You
workplace
don't have to worry
accidents
about
would be
workers'
an
comp.
issue and
You don't have to worry about the health benefits for a
yeah.
robot worker.
And with a robot worker, you don't have to worry about like they're there 24 hours a day every day.
Exactly.
They might have to
And
go charge themselves every once in a while, but that's it.
And you'll get these people that are like, oh, but that'll take the jobs away from people. And it's like, okay, look, the same people said that about, carriage drivers. Oh, if we build cars, who's going to drive the carriages? We
Mhm.
won't have, what are the horses going to do? And it's like, oh, well, we're concerned about the horse's job now. No,
And with
the idea, if
with
we start at the ground level and we make all the jobs that we can automated, then that opens up jobs for people to repair those robots,
Mhm.
to design better robots. That opens up higher paying jobs for more people. And then you also have those people, and honestly, the antithesis to capitalism would be a universal wage, like a universal income. Like everybody gets 30 grand a month. If everybody got 30 or not, that's okay, 30,000 a year. Like
Mhm.
that's still dirt poor, but
Mhm.
at least that guarantees everybody a shot at doing something,
Mhm.
because the fact that you get caught in this rat race where you graduate high school, you get thrown into a job. If you didn't already have a job, some of us had jobs throughout high school that
Mhm.
we continued to work after high school, and then you go to college, you do all that, and then you get out, and then you have to look for a job, and it's like nobody teaches you how to live life after 18. I think, and if we just had a grace period for those people, like after you turn 18, if like you know, it's crazy that you can work at 16, pay taxes, but can't vote. Isn't that literally what this country was founded on? Like the
Yeah.
opposite of that?
It's well, I think there were a few people in America that could work and not vote in when the country was founded.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. They were a
Yeah.
little darker. They did a lot of work and they weren't allowed to vote. They did
Yes.
they did
But they were very generously considered 60% of a person.
yes. But so what's happening instead
That was
is
sarcasm, by the way. Don't
yes.
anybody think that I meant that seriously. I can't deal with the backlash.
Um but with what we have instead is we have higher paying jobs. Like I'll tell you, like my experience, I was working with like on Google, you have the help center articles,
Mhm,
like you
mhm.
you need to figure out how to, update your Chromecast or whatever, and you go online and there's the help
It's
center.
it's the less helpful Quora, yeah.
So yeah,
Or
I
Quora.
was on a there's actually a team of about well, at least yeah, I don't know how big the team, but there's a lot of work that goes into writing those help center articles for all of Google. There was a
Mhm.
team of about 150 people that would write those articles, and there was like a very specific formula for it. And so I was working there for 4 years, and by the time I left, I was the trainer for like how to write those articles. And it
So you
was
got a
six
lot of
figure income.
technical writing.
It was like by the time you get up there, it's like a real it's actually even for the basic writers, they were making I think 35 an hour, which isn't bad. For like that's the starting pay for it.
Mhm.
And they have laid off half of that team or 2/3 of the team, and they've either outsourced it to Manila and India, or they've just kind of gone to more and more to where AI drafts it out and then the writer
Proofreads it and
polishes it up.
yep, yep.
So and that's what's happening is you've got AI replacing high skilled jobs rather than low skilled jobs. Then those high skilled jobs end up getting like the jobs they get are now like are that are available for them are going in and proofreading what the AI did. So it's not the same level of pay they're getting. They're going from higher paid jobs to lower paid jobs. So I'm getting offered instead. I was making like $53 an hour. Then I start getting offers like for $24 an hour.
I've
Um,
had that happen too. That sucks when you change from one specification and then you have to go back to general.
yeah, and it's industry wide. It was like uh there's a whole other thing that I want to do a show on someday with the tech industry and how they farm out workers and stuff. Like, don't even get me started on Raider Labs for Google that do the search engine. They make $15 an hour and like are allowed to pee twice a day and work in 100-degree temperatures.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's like the and you know that's also like when people are like, oh, let's boycott Amazon or boycott Google or stuff. It's like the people you're hurting are the ones that are working the hardest. They're the ones that are going to feel it. You know, it's not Jeff Bezos or
Yeah.
the
You
board
can't
of
hurt. You
Alphabet
can't
that's
hurt
gonna-
Jeffrey Bezos.
You know, they don't give a flying fornication what you do. The ones that are really hurting are the guys that, you know, is working in the warehouse at Amazon that's going to lose his job, or
But
going to be
on-
allowed to pee once a day instead of twice because they're, you know.
on the
Anyway,
flip side, if you look at what's happening with Target, they got a bunch of backlash over their rescinding their DEI incentives. They lost 16 billion in market value for their shareholders. So protest does work, and I don't know that any particular guy at the bottom was hurt
did they change
initially.
it?
I'm sure they'll lay off. I'm sure they'll lay off people to recoup their losses.
Because
but
what'll happen is stock losses don't really count because they just come back.
Yeah.
You know, like after the stuff dies out, then it'll come back. You know,
Yeah.
Stock prices end up always going up, and they know that, and it's just they'll just wait.
That's just
They'll
based
weather
on
the storm.
faith.
But like it's not like in the meantime they can't afford butter to put on their bread.
Right. Yeah, that's it. So like protesting, like I get your point. It does eventually hurt the bottom line guys, but I think the overall might help more. You know, if they just, you know, went back to the way that they were, I think people would continue shopping there. But, you know, I haven't shopped at Target in years, so it didn't affect me at all personally, but I know a lot of people who like really like Target.
So back to the what you know, like we're talking about here is
Yeah.
AI is they're trying to it's better for the super. AI is better for people like Jeff Bezos.
Oh yeah.
Because he can replace high skilled work with low pay. Like he can save $30 an hour per worker that was doing this one thing.
Mm.
Like instead of, you know, paying somebody $50 an hour, he can now pay somebody $20 an hour to you know, like just
And the job hasn't changed.
copyright AI.
Yeah.
Or not, you know, like to just to copy edit. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't have to pay a writer, he just has to pay somebody to go in and proofread what AI says.
So like
He only has to pay one person instead of three people. So it saves Jeff Bezos money, all this AI.
yeah. And there are benefits to AI, like your theme song, for example. You didn't have to pay somebody to write a theme song for you. That would have been kind of expensive, I would imagine, especially for a podcast. But that's a good use of AI, I think. I think because AI music has come up with a lot, most of it, I would say 90% of it's garbage. But you do get some like real classics that come out of that. A lot of them are from like YouTube comment sections. You know, they just put the YouTube comment to a song, and it's honestly like the one that I think about all the time. It just lives in my head rent free. Is how the hell you spell chauffeur?
Oh, I
That
haven't
one?
heard that one. No, I don't know that one. But now I'll
Oh,
have to
it's
Google it.
great. It's great. You should look it up when we're done with this. It's so funny. It sounds like a real country song about the word chauffeur.
That's
But
hilarious. So somebody just there was a comment and
yeah,
somebody fed it
they
into
they spelled it like the person said, "How do you spell chauffeur?" And they spelled it like SHOWFUR,
no.
and the person commented underneath spelling it correctly, and then he replies, well, Mr. Fancy Pants, Mr. McGee over here, you know, and
Oh
that's
wow.
like that's the whole. It sounds like the chorus to an actual country song, and I think it's great and I love it. But And there's a lot of people writing children's stories with AI art now, because they can't afford to pay an illustrator. So those are good uses. But I would side with the only true ethical use of AI would be for personal use. Like if you wanted to read a Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction where he falls in love with Flubber from Flubber, um, that would be something that you could probably only get AI to do, because I don't think you could pay an actual writer to do that. It'd be like millions of dollars. But that's if you want to see that for yourself, AI can do that for you. But the people that are calling themselves AI artists and selling prints and of AI generated work where all they did was type in a 6 or 7 keywords and it came up with something, something that was stolen, like that's not disputable. It was stolen from real artists online.
Yeah.
It's easy to build a program that can just search all of Google for images and just pick out the ones that don't have, watermarks on them. In fact,
Interesting.
you'll find that a lot of AI drawings will erase watermarks or signatures,
Interesting.
or they'll try to replicate them incorrectly. So that's another interesting thing that proves that, like, because they're denying it. All the big AI companies are like, no, we didn't scrape data from artists. We didn't steal data. All of our stuff is free and fair use, and it's not.
That's interesting. Have you ever done like a Google search on images to see if they come up with matches?
For like the AI generated images?
Yeah.
Yeah, it always comes back to whoever's hawking the stuff. Like it'll come back to their Pinterest page or their
No, I mean
Tumblr.
like, well, I occasionally for my whiteboard videos, I'll have an AI image generated. Because it's like sometimes it's
and that would be that I think that falls under acceptable use, because you're not profiting off of it. If you're profiting off of AI, that's unethical, because you didn't steal. It's the same way if you bought stolen property. Like if you know that stolen property is stolen and you bought it, you're just as culpable as the person that actually stole it.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and I think there's gonna and I think it's like, well, because some people might say, well, okay, because I just got monetized on YouTube, so if I'm monetized on YouTube and I play the whiteboard videos are where I get my most views, so I am profiting off the whiteboard video and the image is in the whiteboard video.
Okay, but we're talking like lemonade
Like
stand
that
profit.
versus I'm going to like people that like they try to sell AI books on Amazon where the entire book is AI and
they had no part in it really.
Yeah, they don't even know
they
didn't even read the thing.
Yeah,
there was an extra word in there. There was an extra word that I censored myself. I have to watch myself now that I'm monetized.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But okay,
I hope I didn't say anything.
No, I don't think they'll.
I got a couple of DMCA strikes when I was streaming on Twitch for just the music that was on in my house in the background, because I'm always listening to music. That's like my main thing. Like I love music. I have about 6,000 like songs on my Spotify now. And it's all different artists, like just like that's what I love music. So I'm always listening to music. And I just had it on in the background, and my whole stream was muted. Nobody could hear anything I was saying. And even the clips that were recorded afterwards were muted. And I was like, this song's 80 years old. I'll be listening to Philip Glass or Beethoven or Bach, and it's just like, how are you going to demonetize me for that? Crazy.
there's a kind of a joke, not a joke thing, where it's like if anybody's ever filming you doing something that you don't want to go viral, just pull out your phone and play a Disney song. Because it'll get like
Yeah,
Disney
it'll
will
get
have that.
instantly. Yeah,
Disney will get that shit taken down faster than you can.
nothing. Everything. The internet is forever except for Disney.
Yes,
Except for
exactly.
Disney IP infringements. Those. In fact, in my hometown, Disney shut down a daycare because they painted Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse on their walls. Like hand
Wow.
painted. They paid an artist in town to hand paint Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Like big 6-foot giant paintings of them on the walls, like right on the walls too. And yeah, they shut the whole place down.
Why didn't they let him just paint over the Mickey
Good,
Mouse?
they got them shut down until they repainted
Wow.
it. They had to they had to just, and it's crazy that they go after people that hard.
Did they like replace it with Donald Mouse and Mickey Duck?
I wasn't at the daycare, but it was a daycare while I was going to daycare, so I just remember hearing the story from my mom. So, I don't even know how much truth there is in it. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up, but I
Yeah,
always use that example
it's
when
a
people talk
good
about
story.
Disney and going after people because they're like Nintendo. When Nintendo hears that somebody is making a mod for their games, or somebody tried to rebuild Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine, and it was beautiful, gorgeous, and they shut it down. They shut the whole project down, and they weren't even making money off of this thing. It was just a
Wow.
labor of love, and they just wanted to distribute it to other people who wanted to play it. And Nintendo said, "No, you can't distribute this."
Man, that's not surprising, I guess, because
No.
if they wanted to. So anyway, all right. So so the danger of even the fake AI is like one, the environmental dangers,
And there's no human oversight to it.
and then two, the job replacement, and then what you're saying, no human oversight.
So if Musk gets his way and he automates all the federal budget spending, taxes, IRS, everything like that, if that's his goal and he gets that goal, there's going to be no human oversight to it. They're going to take the AI's word for it because it's going to do what it was programmed to do. And it will make mistakes, but they don't care.
You want to know? All right, here's a story for you. My father-in-law is the one that invented, like when you call support,
Mhm,
and it's like press 1 and you get that whole system.
mhm.
He invented that with a friend of his. They,
Oh, nice.
they,
Like
they,
the touch tone,
yeah, the whole, what, not the touch tone, but
not
the
the touch
whole,
tone, but the what came out of it.
yeah, the whole idea of having the robot answer the phone, and
And the prompts to get you to where
yeah,
you need to go. It's a directory. It's like a
yeah.
self-automated directory.
And he was originally just for like this government department that he was working with. But I told him, boy, I don't know if I can call you dad after that. I mean, you have inflicted so much pain on the world. he's like, I feel he admits that he probably anyway. And it's like one of those things where like you would think somebody that invented something like that would be super rich, but they were working for IBM or whatever, and
So
they just got their salary.
I have another anecdote for you. I was working at a computer repair facility that repaired medical laptops, and these nurses, they were in-home nurses, and sometimes they would wait, weeks before they would send their laptop in. So eventually it would get locked by McAfee security. So after the laptop sits for a while, like if it gets stolen or whatever, and they can't log into it right away, they'll let it sit. And by the time a week or two goes by, it gets locked completely at the hard drive level. And there's really not any real guaranteed way to fix that. But I developed a script that when you plugged in the USB, you could run the script through. If you could pull up Explorer, Windows Explorer, you
Mhm.
can or no, if you pull up Internet Explorer. So when the the laptop was locked, it would pull up a page on Internet Explorer telling you how to unlock it, like go to this website and unlock it through here or whatever. But that's the only thing you could do. And I found out that with Internet Explorer, you can use Windows Explorer. All you have to do is, instead of typing in a URL, you type in the address path.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured out that you could run scripts through that web page that came up showing that it was locked. And so I developed a script that would delete the security DLL and restart the computer. And all you'd have to do is, open the laptop, go to the web page, erase the URL, and put in the path for the script. It resets the computer. You log back on. It's unlocked. And I unlocked over $1 million worth of inventory.
Wow.
With that.
And
And
you got paid $12 an hour or whatever.
yep, $12 an hour. But no, I was making, yeah, it was either 12 or 15. But this was back in 2014, 2015. So that was pretty good money. At least in Ohio. I don't know about other places. People in LA would be like, you survived on $12 an hour? But yeah, but I was fired the next week because they not fired. They ended my assignment. I was a guy that was temporarily hired to deal with the backlog, the massive backlog. And for weeks, I was doing it the hard way with these guys. We were repairing the laptops, but we were skipping the ones, we were shelving the ones that were locked. And so we had, thousands and thousands of laptops that were locked. And I developed a simple thing that you could copy to any other USB. We had like 20 of them running at once. We'd had a set of those rolling shelves that they use in like kitchens and stuff with the wire racks. You know what I'm talking about?
You did so well that they fired you.
Yeah. And that's the dangers. The dangers. I developed kind of, you can't call it an AI because it's just a script, but really it's just programming. But AI is just programming. So I programmed my own,
you programmed your own death.
Yep. And that's not uncommon in the technology industry. If you do a good job, you will work yourself out of a job.
No. My job as a trainer is what I went through and developed this whole training program that was, like good enough that people could basically train themselves. And so then they said, well, there were 3 of us. They said, well, we only need 1 of you now, and hasta la vista. So,
yep.
So wait, so the 3 dangers then are 1, the environmental dangers, 2, the career dangers, like it's taking away the wrong kind of jobs.
Exactly.
Like if it were just like
it's replacing the wrong kind of
forklifts instead of the warehouse manager, then that would be fine.
Right. But no, I think what will happen first is they'll automate HR. HR is going to be the first one to go because HR costs you the most money. Not with just the people that are in the salaries. It's not the salaries of the people. It's the complaints you get to HR, the lawsuits that the HR has to arbitrate. And if you just automate it, then you don't have to worry about it at all. It'll just automatically, settle out cases that you were in the wrong for. It'll arbitrate the ones that you can win, and there will be no human oversight, and there will be no press. No one will hear about it because there will be no people to talk about it.
Because everything will be with NDAs and stuff.
And everybody, the view will be everything's running much smoother now.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't days without incident. If you take it, it's the Trump logic of they're testing too much, But if you take out the days without incident sign, you have no more days without incident. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's infinity forever.
So yeah, and you can definitely. I don't think we're gonna see. It's not gonna help the wealth gap.
No, not at all.
Not when you're talking about Elon Musk potentially.
Because all these,
like Mark Cuban said, that it's potentially the biggest contract in the history of the world, like this.
They just gave him like a $400 billion contract for armored Teslas for the military.
Well, 400 million.
400 million. Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't billion.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, man, that's half his net worth.
Yeah. When
they're gonna double him. Jeez.
But yeah, no, this would potentially be in the trillions of dollars.
Oh, that's nuts. No one should ever have $1 trillion.
Like, what is even the point of, you know?
They
It's
say
not
that
like he could anyway. I like I am not like anti-wealth.
no,
But
you gotta
there's
earn
a
it though.
point where, you know, like if somebody you've got, you know, I was reading an article yesterday that you have like Elon Musk is going after people's social security, he's going after SNAP
Yep.
benefits, and you have the richest man in the world sitting there snatching away, literally snatching food out of hungry children's mouths. And you know, like there's something wrong with that optic to me. Like
They don't see it like that though. They see these programs in their whole, as a whole. These programs are fraud to them. You know, USAID. They think that entire program is completely fraudulent.
Yeah.
When really the only mistake that they ever made was investigating Elon Musk for his Starlink inactivity over Ukraine.
He is really a piece of like.
He was knowingly shutting off his satellites to aid Russia's efforts.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know.
he got caught doing it. And his response to getting caught, which has been his response to getting caught in anything when he was cheating at Path of Exile 2, is to just start again with something else under a new name.
Yeah, I heard about the cheating at the video. What is he like? Had somebody else playing the video game for him or something?
Yeah, and it was very apparent just from the fact that when he opened up his inventory and everything was labeled Elon's this, Elon's that. And it's like nobody refers to themselves in the third person like that. But then it was sealed when he went AFK and got killed in a low level area. Like, and he was also like passing up high level items that he should have been picking up, and it just like being a noob. Like that's
so it's like if I beat, it would be like me beating LeBron James in 1-on-1 or something like.
Right, but you had
No.
those kangaroo stilts on.
Yeah, I mean, so.
But you swear to everyone that you weren't wearing them. And
Yeah, right.
There's no video proof that that you weren't wearing them because for reasons I don't know. But no, he then made a new character, which he's still doing the same thing. This man does not have time to be playing video games himself. He does it for the attention occasionally, but that's anyway. AI will soon have AI Twitch streamers, I bet.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna really, because that's the kind of thing where it's like if it's predictive, then no, or like Twitch streamers, not AI. Will AI take over video games? Can you have?
Yeah. So AI can. There have been several games hosted on Steam that are completely AI built, AI coded, AI art, AI. Written.
No, I mean AI players. Like, could an AI player?
Oh yeah.
Those AI that
are
could become an elite. You know, I don't know what video game.
Yeah, no. So most of the leaderboards are bots. In most games that don't have very good like hack detection software. So like the hacks themselves are also a complex algorithms like AI. They inject themselves into the code and change the way the game works to give you an advantage. And so bots are basically automated hacks where you don't even need it to be playing the game. It plays it for you with the hacks on so that it just, face rolls the level and clears it, and then you get all the credit for it, and nobody did any work.
What is even the point of that?
To make money.
Oh, because you can make money at it.
Yeah, you sell the account for money, or you sell the in-game currency for money. Like WoW gold bots have been around for literal generations.
Like, what would be the point of like buying somebody? Like, I mean, just my Like I understand like why you would, because you want to get this, whatever. But it's like in some ways I'm like, what's the point in terms of uh isn't the challenge of the game actually just personal? Like,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
okay,
so
so
if you did it cheat, it's like cheating at Wordle or something.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, okay, you got the word. And so it's like every day, you know, like I play Wordle a lot. And every day there'll be like less than 1% or like around 0.8% of people that got the word on the first try, no matter what it is. And it's like some days, you know, okay, that's a common first word. I'm not surprised some people got it today, but then it'll be, you know, like, you know, some weird word, you know, just some 5-letter word. There's no way somebody would play that for the first word. And you know, it'll be like, I can't think of one right now,
Quote.
but huh?
Quote.
Yeah, it'd be like quote, you know, like
Yeah,
there's no
nobody
way,
starts with a Q. That's
yeah,
that's crazy.
nobody would use that. Um, and it's like if you use that, then you knew what the word was and you typed it in, and it's like where's the entertainment in that? Like
No.
you're doing a
That,
thing for entertainment, and you're taking the entertainment out of it by when you take the challenge out of it.
what is your starter word, by the way, for Wordle?
It was ISLE,
That's a good one.
AISLE, until it went to until that one I got it. That's like the time I got it on the first try, and but since then it's I use plate. I play on the hard mode. I don't like to where you can't. You have to use your previous hints in the subsequent choices.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't just, basically farm guesses.
Yeah. So it gets a little harder when you have the words where, you know, like, you know, it'll be where there you've got 4 of the letters and the last 4 letters, and the first letter is the only one you need, but there's like 7 words with that first letter.
Yeah.
And you know the ones I'm talking about, right? Where
Yeah. And it's
just
like
hell.
you're guessing cloud.
Yeah. And so then you just hope you get the right word before you run out of letters. Well, if you do it the easy way, then you can come up with a word that has like 4 of the letters in it and eliminate, you know, all but like 2 guesses, and then you know like still get the right word. You can't do that with if you've eliminated, like if you've got the 4 of the letters in the right place, then you've got to stick with those 4 letters on every guess.
Right. Yeah, I played the hard mode too. My son would actually go A B C D E for his first guess.
Is that a word?
No, and he knows it's not a word, but it'll show which ones are the right letters because he
Oh,
plays on easy
does
mode.
it let him do that? I didn't think it would let you submit words that weren't
Oh,
words.
I don't think he plays the real Wordle.
Oh, okay.
It's like I don't know. It's like a kid's version or something.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it is a fun little word game for him though.
What's your first word?
Brain.
Brain.
And
That's
then I do
using the brain.
cough. Brain cough. Because I don't know, it's like an auditory stim for me.
Yeah.
I hear brain cough, and I like it's something I can always remember, and so it's real easy, and it gives you a lot of
When
letters.
you say those 2 words together, for some reason it makes me think of RFK Jr.
Yeah, brainworm.
Like brain cough. I went like the worm
If the
coughed
worm
before
coughed.
it starved to death or something.
Yeah.
So
No, I think it's alive and well.
the brain
Oh
or the
no,
worm?
the worm. The worm. Yeah, I don't think the
Oh, I
worm's
thought it
dead.
was dead.
I think rumors of the worm's death were greatly exaggerated.
Wow. Is it what is it living on? How is it feeding?
Oh, he's got plenty of gray matter in there. It's nice and smooth. It's like a big hard boiled egg.
Big old hard boiled egg with no yolk. It's
Yep.
all white, kind of like his philosophy.
That's the way they like it. These people don't eat the yolks. They don't even put salt on it. It's too spicy.
I actually really appreciate you coming on.
I
And
appreciate
I
that.
feel like I've gotten a lot more clear on kind of what it is. Like I still want to know more about like what machine learning is versus what generative AI is and some stuff
I,
like that. But I feel like I do kind of get a basic grasp on what it is. I think we need, like, just as a society, we need to have more awareness of what AI is rather than just sort of selling it as this great engine into the future.
well, another thing that has done disservice to understanding AI is the Terminator series. Everybody thinks that AI is going to lead to this Skynet thing where robots are building themselves and they're wiping out humanity, and that's actual artificial intelligence. That's actual, like, because you would have to program it to wipe out humanity if that's
Mhm.
what you wanted it to do. So when people talk about the dangers of AI, most people jump to that. They're like, "Oh, you think Skynet's real?" Or like it's like, no, there's very real danger, very tangible dangers here in the now. We don't have to worry about Skynet in 10, 20 years.
Interesting.
So AI is good, AI is bad. It depends on how you use it and what you
Yeah,
use it for.
as I say, a lot of things are just like fire, you know,
Yep.
and so and the internet's one of those things, and AI is one of those things, and uh, anyway, uh, I really do appreciate you coming on. I want you to do me a favor and give your dogs a good ear scratch for me because
Oh
I
yeah.
I miss my dog.
Oh.
He's a big fluffy guy. I bet he's fun to cuddle with.
He hogs the bed.
I bet he does. That's what I miss about Honey Bear. Honey Bear was a big dog, and she would
Nice.
just, and she was just like the like she like when she wanted to cuddle, like she was like full length cuddle.
Mm.
But she died last September. She
Well, I'm sorry to
just,
hear that.
she yeah, we they told us in January she had 3 months, and we got another 10 months with her. So
Hey,
we
that's
were
good.
lucky for that. We had 10 years. She died just a couple of days after her 10th birthday, and we got her when she was 10 months old. So we had her a good 9 years, and she was a sweet dog. She was,
9 years is good for a dog.
especially a larger dog. How
That's
old?
how old Sven is. He's 9, but his hips are getting bad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
poor
His
guy.
brother his brother was a Newfoundland, and he had to get put down
Oh no,
because his hips got so bad he couldn't get up. And
poor guy.
he was a big dog, like a heavy dog. I had to carry him to the car. It was all I could do. It was- oof.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on. And I
Yeah,
really,
sorry for the Midwest goodbye. I grew up
oh,
in Ohio, so I can never hang up with anybody or
where in Ohio, by the way?
I grew up in a town called Coshocton.
Coshocton. What is that near? Is that
It's
like in the Toledo area, or?
no, not even close. So it's about an hour northeast-ish from Columbus.
Okay,
So it's close to Akron, Canton,
I know where Akron
Philadelphia.
is. I know where Canton is.
So
My,
it's kind of south of that.
okay, my wife, when I started dating her, lived in Cincinnati, and her
Ah,
grandparents lived in
I lived
Cincinnati,
in Cincinnati for a while too.
and then we shortly after she moved to Cleveland,
Mm.
and I was living in Chicago. So
Those are kind of close.
I spent quite a bit of time in Ohio. Coughing. But yeah, we got. Have you ever been to Pier W in Cleveland, the restaurant?
No, no. When I was in Cleveland, it was for work, and so I didn't venture out much.
That's where we that's where we got engaged.
Oh,
Was
nice.
Pier W. Yeah,
Well, I'll have to check it out next time I'm in Cleveland if I
it's a
ever
lovely
hang out.
restaurant. It's over Lake Erie,
Mm. Oh,
and
wow.
so yeah, it was pretty cool. I proposed with Lake Erie in the backdrop, and there was, like, way back on Lake Erie, there were, like, right when I was proposing, there was like a lightning storm, that started.
Did you
So
get pictures?
no, because I was
Oh,
proposing.
but you didn't
was
give
like-
somebody your phone and like, hey, take pictures of this.
Yeah, this was in 1998.
Oh,
This was
so you didn't have
pre-telephone.
your Panasonic camcorder with you?
No,
Never leave home without it.
but yeah, it was pretty incredible. So we went and we took a carriage ride. This was in September. We took a carriage ride through downtown Cleveland, and it was like really breezy, and the autumn leaves were like drifting into the carriage. It was like the most crazily romantic night that you could imagine. So
Yeah, it sounds pretty great. That's better than, when I proposed to my wife, because it was during COVID. So
oh no, yeah, well that's
we were sitting in bed binge watching something on Netflix. I think it was Breaking Bad, and I was like, "Hey, you want to get married?" Then we did the next day.
Netflix and chill takes on a whole new meaning.
Well, we had lived together for a year prior to that during COVID, so
Okay.
like we started dating at the height of the pandemic when all the lockdowns initiated and they closed the border because our
Mhm.
landlord ran away to Mexico.
Oh wow!
You know,
Did you
that
have
was
to
a whole
pay?
situation. No, she was crazy. She ended up coming back to the States. She stole a U-Haul truck. But she ended up coming back to the States because her lawyer found a way to blame it all on her stopping her birth control. Like she
Ah,
got off her birth control and went crazy.
ah, that's unusual.
But she got like basically she got to come back for time served, and it's like what she was living in Cabo, like not she wasn't like living in like the slums of
Yeah,
Mexico. I
she
mean,
wasn't
come
like
on.
living in her car or something.
No, nothing like that. No. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Midwestern goodbye. That's my fault. I apologize.
That's okay. I'm familiar with it. So,
Okay.
all right, we'll talk to you. Well, we'll talk to you on Blue Sky. I'll share the link with you. Hi, Kitty. I'll share the link with you once we're done, in case you want to share it
Cool.
with your
Thank you.
family or anything. All right, talk to you later.